Welcome to Sips and Side Quests, a fantasy-inspired podcast series where we try new drinks and tell old stories. I'm your host, Aaron.
And I'm your co-host, Troy. Today, we're mixing it up. We're running it back unfiltered as we seek to revitalize Season 2 of the show. Darren, how are things looking today?
Glad you asked. We're going to keep it light today. We're starting off with our Sip segment where we explore new drinks, and then we're rolling right into Tavern Tales. Fully off the rails tales. Let's get into it. Troy, what refreshment are you partaking in today?
I had a feeling you would ask. So today I have different. We're not doing the pale ales. If anybody's actually been around, listening to any other episodes, you'll know I kind of went off the rails with the pale ales in season 1. Today, though, we have a drink called Stone Fort. This is an oat brown ale out of 7th Sun Brewing. Shout out. 5% ABV, so not too bad. Pretty sessionable brew here. Color, soft brown. If you ask what soft means, it means it's like kind of light, but not really. It's like an amber, I would say, actually. Flavors on this one include light roast coffee, which I definitely get. Cocoa, which definitely comes through. And then this last one, I'm not messing around with you. I've searched for this term, and I don't know what it means. Leather biscuit is one of the listed flavors on multiple websites. Now, I don't know if one website got the flavors from the other website or what, but like the official website and then untapped.com is a different one. They say leather biscuit is one of the flavors. Darren, do you have any insight as to what a leather biscuit is?
Yeah, isn't that when you order your steak well done?
Good one.
No, I mean, what does that kind of invokes like a wallet almost?
Yeah.
Have you ever smelled like a leather wallet when you've like had it like in your pants after like a road trip or something? That's the kind of scent that I'm thinking of, like a cooked wallet.
I can't say I've ever sniffed my wallet after a road trip. That's a little unique.
It exudes the scent, like it like assaults you. Like you don't really have a choice. Like you take it out of your pocket, you go to put it down on the stand, and you get a waft, and it's bad. It's bad juju.
So and I think that's just because it's like warm leather, right? It gets warmed up by like your buttocks, basically. Right?
Love me some butt leather.
Anyway, so leather biscuit has been listed as one of the flavors. I don't know if it's some sort of miscommunication. I don't know if they meant to do leather, biscuit. I could see like a biscuit taste. Leather is interesting for a flavor, but it has been listed on multiple websites. So that's what it is. I do have a few facts about this one real quick. This is a oat brown ale. It's modeled after the English brown ale. Surprise, surprise. However, this one uses oats instead of barley. So, pretty crazy stuff they're doing here these days. Basically, also, if you were wondering, you know, what's the deal here? What's oats instead of barley? What does that even do? It's mostly about the mouthfeel, right? The oats make it creamier than barley would, basically, is what I saw in my research. Not a ton of history about oat brown ale specifically. It's been around since the 1800s, came about in England. It was introduced as an alternative to pale ales. Shout out to season 1. And it's very reminiscent of oatmeal stouts, which I think have a much richer backstory than this one. So maybe I'll have to find one of those and do it. But That's about the oat brown ale specifically. This specific drink, the Stone Fort, fun fact here, actually found pretty cool. They named it after what's thought to be the oldest standing structure in Ohio. The old Stone Fort, located in Coshocton, Ohio, has been standing since 1679 and is still standing today. So that is about, 250 years? Something like that.
We weren't even a state, I don't think, until 1703, so that was before we were a state.
Yeah, pretty cool. I like the name. I like the beer itself. I did want to start giving ratings, right? Last season I didn't give ratings. I want to do that. So for this one, I'm going to go, I think, 0.5 increments. Just to simplify things, I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. No 0.5 on this one, just 7.0. It's pretty good. I don't love it. I've actually had a 6-pack of this for the past couple weeks. I've just been slowly working my way through it. Think like a lighter version of a stout, right? It's a little malty, but it's not too heavy. It's interesting. I've never had this
thick
one.
in your mouth, right?
It's kind of thick in your mouth. Yeah, it is very thick. It's very creamy. There's definitely some frothing going on here. Anyway.
Nothing like a thick leather biscuit in your mouth.
There we go.
Cool.
So that's what I got. Any questions before we get into your drink, Darren?
Yeah, maybe just a call out. I mean, Seventh Son. We love Seventh Son. You drank a pale ale from them in the first season, right?
No. I didn't actually drink the Humulus Nimbus. No, I did not actually drink it. Shout out to the Humulus Nimbus. Currently my favorite brew of any. It's my number one. Just a basic pale ale. It's very good. Didn't actually drink it in season 1 though. No, I did a Sierra Nevada in episode 1 there. Had to start at the roots, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. Seventh Son is probably up there as far as Ohio brewery goes, though.
I was thinking about that. So I've tried not all of their drinks. I've tried 3 different ones. Obviously the Humulus Nimbus, that's my number 1. Stone Fort, like I said, 7 out of 10. Pretty good. I might just not be a brown ale guy. I don't know, but 7 out of 10 is not bad. And then they have another one, a golden ale called the Assistant Manager, which I'm not going to rate because I'm not drinking it right now, but I've had it and it's not bad either. So I think Seventh Son is just up there as far as breweries go. All
right, well, a 7 for Seventh Son. Start there.
7 for Seventh
like
Son.
That.
All right, get us into what do you got today? You texted me earlier. You said it's patriotic. I've been wondering about that all night. What do we got?
Yeah, ever since the last season ended, I wanted to go based off episodes and times, and this one should release hopefully on July 3rd in time for the 4th of July. And what's more patriotic than bourbon? I can't think of anything. Maybe Bomb Pops. Bomb Pops are pretty good, but what I am drinking is a whiskey smash. Kind of. So, kind of. Yes, there's a story with that. So, whiskey smash traditionally has bourbon in it. There's some simple syrup. You start by muddling some lemons in there, then you throw some mints. And a really weird feature of it, so you garnish with mint, which normally okay, sure, that's cute. You smack the mint on your hand to activate it. The craziest thing, you're like, naughty mint, naughty. It's so much more fragrant after you smack it on your hand. There must be some science in there where the mint's like, oh god, stop, but it works. So yeah, that's the full drink right there. Caveat being is, went on a trip to Pittsburgh with the intention of getting bourbon, and I left with rye. So, interesting. I failed the mission horribly, but I was doing some tastings in a bottle shop in Pittsburgh, and the rye whiskey really caught my eye. I've never had a rye prior to this, so this is my only sample size, but I wanted something that was local. So, fun fact for you, I've learned a lot about whiskey for this episode. Pennsylvania is considered the birthplace of American whiskey. I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
How do you feel about that? Yeah.
I feel like that's surprising, especially considering Pennsylvania's sort of bizarre alcohol laws. I kind of always thought it was like Kentucky, right? Like further south.
Yeah, and you're spot on with that thought. So what happened was, I can't remember what the survey was specifically, but it was like 7% of the population of Pennsylvania back in the late 1700s had a still. And that's just people that had told the government that they had stills. That's a lot of stills per, capita. So what happened is there's the whiskey rebellion that happened. Essentially, the government put an excise tax on whiskey, and it was not received really well. And so what happened was a lot of Pennsylvania distillers, they didn't want to be in Pennsylvania anymore. They went to Kentucky.
Okay. Wow. That's
interesting.
Yeah, because as we're living in Ohio, we kind of have like some bourbon connoisseurs here, right? And everybody says the best bourbon comes from Kentucky. But having whiskey been invented in Pennsylvania, now I know the history of why it's Kentucky bourbon. That is so cool.
Well, maybe not like the birthplace of whiskey, but American whiskey for sure.
American whiskey. Okay.
Yeah, so I am specifically drinking, in my drink that is, a Ponfay Westlvania rye whiskey, which is quite good on its own, but in the drink is quite good. They're different flavor profiles. Bourbon is made with at least 51% corn, which gives it more of like a sweeter, more caramel taste, compared to rye whiskey, which requires 51% of its mash bill to be, you guessed it, rye grain, which is known for its more spicier, drier, and more bold flavor. So it does change the flavor profile, but I still think it's a pretty good drink. So what happened with those settlers is they, were originally growing the grain, they'd eat the grain, and then they'd make beer. But beer did not have as long of a shelf life, and so they made rye whiskey. Pretty cool, I thought. A little bit of history about this. It was traditionally made in Somerset County in Pennsylvania. And so what happened was they started producing this. They would grow the grain in Pennsylvania, and then they brought it over to North Carolina, and they distilled it at Southern Distilling Company. And then they brought it back to Pennsylvania to sell. Like, that is the strangest story.
That is, they're skirting the rules in such a great way, though. Right.
They just didn't have like a distillery set up is their main thing. This is like currently this is Pomfay Distillery. In 2020 though, they bought out an old 84 lumber and they set up, so they're actually doing everything in Pennsylvania now. But the guy at the bottle shop told me this story, and I thought he was blowing smoke. And so I looked it up, and it took me a while and some digging, but that is the case. But one final tidbit to leave you on with rye whiskey: bourbon must be made in the United States. However, rye whiskey can be made anywhere in the world.
Okay, well, we're going to have to get into that, because that's brand new information to me. Why can bourbon only be made in the United States?
It's like a distinction. I didn't go too far in on the bourbon, but I know it's like it's not considered bourbon if it's made outside of the United States, as opposed it's just the distinction. I.e., talking in a similar vein, things that we consider wine in the United States aren't always considered wine outside of the United States. Things that we call like fruit wines and whatnot are not that in Europe. They have to be classified differently. If they're not made from grapes, it's not considered wine in Europe. So, there's kind of like intricacies depending on where you are internationally.
Yeah, I've actually, in a very similar vein, maybe even the same vein, we might even be pulling blood from the same vein here, champagne. Right? It's not like technically champagne unless it comes from a certain region, right?
In France.
Over
exactly,
in France.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. So bourbon's kind of the same thing. I didn't know the United States has had their own sort of distinction of whiskey like that, but that's pretty cool. My only comment would be I probably would not like rye whiskey. You said it's very dry. That's like... something that I do not like in drinks is dryness. That's why some wines I just can't do.
You've had probably like spiced rums, right? It reminds me a lot of a spiced rum, but like a little bit less sweet.
I'd have to try it. I don't typically like dry drinks, which I think is why I stay away from liquor, because a lot of liquors are kind of dry, in my opinion.
They can be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you have to mix it with, right?
For sure.
Either way, to put the mint sprig on top of this, a rating myself as well. I don't think I had, the traditional drink, so I don't think I can officially rate a whiskey smash, but a rye whiskey smash, I'd give it like a solid 8 out of 10. It's like almost like a spicy lemonade, and not like in a jalapeno way, and like a kind of like an earthy spiciness. So 8 out of 10 for me for the Pomfay Westlvania rye whiskey smash.
Okay. Interesting. I think without even trying it, I think my rating would be a lot lower, but I haven't tried it, so who knows?
That's why you're the beer guy.
Yeah, I think you have a much more balanced like liquor palate than I do. I think I'm a lot more picky when it comes to cocktails, for sure.
We'll get you there. We'll talk about it later, but I mean, you tried some gin cocktails on the last trip we went on, so we'll have to dive into that. But let's get into some tavern tales. Tavern tales, as it sounds, we go with a prompt, and we just roll with it. And so today, Troy, what's an event that thrust you down an unexpected path in your life?
Great prompt. We definitely came up with this one before today.
You know it.
Yeah, so I have a few different sort of life-changing events that happened that thrust me down unexpected paths. I'm going to go with one that's like not super depressing. Still a little sad, but definitely some darker moments I could have shared that I'm not going to, because we gotta. It's episode 1 of season 2. We gotta uplift the mood here, right? So my story is comes from 8th grade, which fun fact, Darren and I were in together. We actually were like best friends in 8th grade. We were in the band together. We did other things together. Played Sims. It was a great time. That is until I had to move away. And I moved to a city about 30 minutes, I think, from the original city I was living in. In 8th grade, that's a big thing. Because at least in our school districts, you go from 8th grade to high school. So when you transfer into high school, you know, you usually know a lot of people. Me, I went over to 8th grade shortly after spring break, so there was maybe like 2 months left in the school year, and I moved over there, and I didn't really have time to make friends at the new school because there was only 2 months left in the year. So I basically went into high school knowing nobody, which was unfortunate. It's really tough. If you know if anybody ever listens to this and they've changed school districts when they were a kid, they know what I'm talking about. You feel like a lot, very much like an outcast, which is interesting because I had friends at my old school. I knew everybody at my old school. I had been going to school with them, you know, basically my entire life. And I had some close friends over there. And then you just go from that, from being kind of like a normal kid, to just like kind of like a nobody to like nothing, is how I felt in the moment. So it's interesting
Nothing
to me.
too depressing.
It could be way more depressing, and you know that.
Yeah.
But no, in this moment, it was. We'll get to the good stuff here. I'll skip past the sadness. It sucked in the beginning, but I'll never forget. It was, I think, my freshman or my sophomore year. I was a football player. I played football, and I've always been a bigger kid, right? So during sort of cardio exercises for the football team during practice, you know, I was one of those slower guys. I was a lineman, so you know, if we were running like laps, I was probably in the back. And my friend Taylor, my good friend Taylor, still friends to this day. This would be, man, like 15 years later, I've known this guy. Still good friends with him. He was also a bigger guy. He was also a lineman. So we were both running very slowly in the back of the pack. And he didn't know me. We had never spoken, but he was like, "Hey, dude, you can run with me." And we ran together slowly, as linemen do. And it was a great moment. That's a core memory for me right there. But he then introduced me to a bunch of other people who would become my core friend group throughout high school. And a lot of them I'm still friends with to this day, or have seen in recent years. And kind of just set me down a completely different path that I don't think I ever would have went on. Like, I used to make rap music in high school. Actually pretty good at it, I think. But I don't think, had I stayed at the original school, I would have ever even tried to make music. You know, I've thought about it quite a lot, actually, of who I would be if I had never moved away. And I almost think it was better off for me that I moved away. Even though it was like really sad and hard in the beginning, I think everything that came after was worth it, surprisingly. So, Darren, you're very involved in all of this part of my life. Do you have any thoughts on what was it like, maybe from your perspective, of me moving away at that time, just kind of suddenly, like unexpectedly?
Yeah, I mean, we we played a bunch of games. Well, maybe not a bunch of games, but we played, a handful of games together pretty regularly. Some online games as well, and it was crazy because you moved away, and then it was like from like 100 to 0. Like I don't I don't know what was said in the interaction, but like your family wanted nothing to do with me whatsoever. I don't think we actually rekindled for like a few years later. You just kind of did your thing. And I don't think that's even through you. I just think it was like the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, the circumstances. I won't get in too deep because, like I said, I don't want to get too depressing, but some sad circumstances. For me moving away, I mean, it was so long ago, I don't specifically remember what happened either. I was definitely going through like some heavy depression and stuff early high school and just trying to adapt to the new situation, so that probably played a part. We did reconnect in high school, though, only a few years later, 2 or 3 years max, I think, was really the most time we haven't communicated since we met in third or fourth grade. But I do have some core memories with you where you, not to get too personal, but you were like having some problems, and we had like discussed like running away. We were like 14 or 15 at the time. We were like, dude, we can get our own place together and we can run away and we can start, typical teenage stuff.
I hate my mom. It's awful, yada, yada. Things that you say at that age.
Yeah. But I have a core memory of that. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but we had that conversation on the phone, right? And it was a phone call. And during that conversation, I was actually in the middle of skipping football practice. So I was also pretty unhappy with my situation. So I was fully on board with running away. Obviously, we never did it. We're just too good of kids, I guess, to do something like that. But it was definitely a good Vince session. I still remember that to this day.
I feel like people have so many stories in their life where they talk about running away. I had like an old CD case that had a map drawn out from where I lived, and it was like maybe 2 blocks away.
No.
And I had like the roads mapped out and everything, and then like a line to follow. And I swear to you, it was like 2 blocks away. Even like a few years later, when I got older, I would go further than that just to get to the library. But like 2 blocks away at that time, I swear to you, it didn't say this, but it was to the effect of like home free. So like at that age, I'm like 2 blocks away and I'll be gone forever. So I think people have like, God, memories of wanting to run away because they've either been like grounded or like yelled at. But yeah, I do remember
dude, that. I totally 2 blocks away when you're a kid is like, it is home free. I remember because I remember you lived like in the next neighborhood over, and that felt like a long distance. In reality, it was probably like maybe like a football field. Like maybe 2 football fields. It was not. But when you're a kid,
it was like a big field. That's it. Like there was like maybe 1 building obscuring like the sight line. That was it.
Yeah. But when you're a kid, it's like, man, he lives so far away.
No, and then I got older and I'm like, I biked to the library, which the library was maybe like 4 or 5 blocks away. It wasn't that far away either. So I'm like, that's crazy that I thought I could get away after 2 blocks.
Dude, the library felt unreachable almost. That was like a journey from
really
where we lived. Like you said, it was like only like 4 or 5 blocks, maybe like a 10-minute bike ride. But it felt unreachable. If you go into the library, that's a whole day excursion.
So I remember going to the library with one of my other friends at the time, and I never pedal standing up. I don't know how people do it. I don't know if they look for like they get like more energy or like power in through the bike or something. I would always just pedal sitting down. That's what bikes are. I don't know, but I remember very distinctly I tried it out on the way to the library, and when I decided to try it out, it was in the middle of a crosswalk right in front of the library, and my chain fell off my bike.
No.
And so I was just sitting there pedaling like an idiot, and I wasn't going anywhere. And I could just hear like the chain hit the ground. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? There's cars coming both ways, which you're in a crosswalk and it's like, please slow down. So people know. And I don't think the road was 2 lanes on either side at that point. I think it was just 1 lane. So it's not even like it was that dramatic of a situation, but I couldn't have been maybe like 5th or 6th grade and I was having a panic attack. But, I like one of those comedic things where you like pedaling and then you just fall over on your side and you're still pedaling. But I got up, with like a skinned knee and I walked across and it was all fine. But in that moment, that was devastating.
Yeah, in the middle of the road, I think I would have freaked out too.
Yeah, it was scary.
Bikes really used to be like the thing back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever did you ever do like the no hands? You ever hit the no hands ride?
I never could. I tried, but I just never could. I don't know if it's like a bike thing or what.
Oh, like maybe you didn't have a good enough bike?
Yeah, maybe it's the bike. Like maybe my handlebars were like too oiled up or something.
Oh my god. Yeah. No, I could do that when I was a kid. I dare not try it these days, but I could do it. I was pretty good, Yeah, you feel like a real badass when you're riding down the street with no hands and you got the Pokemon card in between the what are they called? Spokes.
No, you didn't.
I swear, dude. Yes, it sounded like a motorcycle. God. Yes, I mean, yeah, it's a little like a little jerkish, but it sounds.
What do you think kids use these days? Uno cards?
Ooh, that's a good question. What kind of like cards would a kid? Pokemon cards are still pretty popular, but like kids these days are probably doing like, do they have like Roblox trading cards? I feel like that's a popular thing.
Absolutely not. You are so out of touch.
Minecraft trading cards? I don't
know. They got like PSA 8 graded cards in their spots.
No shot. That's a flex.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
actually, kids probably don't even ride bikes these days, if we're being honest. Right? They just Uber places.
Or they take like the scooters, like what are they, like Lime and whatnot. Back in our day, Lime meant something different, Lime wire. But I digress. You were talking about running away, and I had a great escape plan. And then I do remember that conversation. We were like coming up on the age where we could work and get like our own place too. Yeah. So we had like a master plan all worked out, but never went through with it.
No, I think we're too smart, at least for me. And I think we actually just talked about this on our trip a little bit. I think it's like, yeah, you have that idea of running away, but then it's like, if you're like an intelligent kid, you're like, okay, so I run away, but then like, what's next? Like, what do I do for food? Where do I sleep? That type of thing. And then at that point, it just becomes like, maybe that's not a good idea. Like, maybe I just deal with my family for the time being.
Yeah, whatever may be going on, maybe it's not that bad.
It's like, get yelled at by my mom or like sleep under a bush. You know what I mean? And me, like I said, I was a big kid. Running away would have meant missing out on meals, right? Not worth it for me. Absolutely not.
We could have made it work, but yeah, it was not worthwhile.
We only could have made it work because you knew how to cook.
I think there was a point where I talked about running away and like grocery shopping at my mom's house as well.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that would have been ideal. Free groceries from your mom's house, as if she wouldn't know that it was. She just goes home. She's like, where's all my food going?
But I would think I was so clever. Like, she would clearly know. Like, oh, wow, it's just, he's just going to pick up
she would definitely just kind of let it happen, too. She's not even the type to call you out. She'd be like, oh, okay. No. There it is. But yeah, you knew how to cook. That's really all we needed back in the day, right? Because I had my little fast food job. I think you had a restaurant job.
There you go. There's the food, dude. Easy. Just do a little bit of leftovers. Some food doesn't quite make it. Easy.
Yo, that actually ties in well to something that happened to me today and yesterday. I think the move these days when ordering out, like door dashing or doing pickup or anything, is getting enough food for 2 meals minimum, right? So like today I got from a local wing joint. It's actually not that local. I feel comfortable saying it. Roosters, right? Picked up some stuff from Roosters, and I could have got half the amount, but I got the full amount because it's like cheaper than 2 half amounts, and I only ate half. So now I have a whole nother meal waiting for me tomorrow, and it only came out to like $10 a meal, which is pretty good for eating out, right? $10 a meal, 2 days, that's solid. And it's
I
like
can see that.
And it's like 900 calories worth of food per meal.
Be like probably $15 otherwise. I mean,
Right.
To be fair, Roosters is very well priced for what you get.
Roosters is pretty cheap. Yeah. We did like 2 meals, some apps and some things. It was like with tip, which is interesting. Let me get into this. Well, it was only, okay, let me say the total. $42 was the total after tip. Now I did do pickup. Why did I tip on pickup? This is actually a pro tip. I don't know if you do this. I do this because I've worked in like the food industry and I know how it feels. If you tip just like $1, $2, $3 to the pickup people where they're not expecting any tip, they typically go their days without getting any tips. They are so much more likely to just like hook you up, like extra sauces. You know, maybe they throw in like a little bit of extra chicken wings. Maybe they, you know what I mean? They're so much more likely to make the food well if you just throw $1, $2, $3. In my experience, how do you feel about tipping on pickup orders, Darren?
Well, I used to work as a takeaway in a restaurant, so
Yeah.
I always tip regardless. But yeah, I definitely do like the 1, 2, 3. Like, I can definitely see an argument for it if they bring the food out, you know, for tipping a little bit more handsomely. But like, yeah, like $1 or $2, whatever, on, you know, bringing the food out. Having worked, you know, in that situation, we don't really do all that much. I mean, we like the restaurant puts it in, like, the cooks will put it in a box, and then we just pretty much bag it up and make sure it's all there. So I think it's just more so ensuring that your food is going to come out correctly, and they're going to handle it with more care. I don't know if I'd say like hooked up in terms of more food, but condiments and like bread and stuff, yeah, definitely. Someone tips me well at the restaurant I was working at, you get more bread. I like you.
Yeah, the extra food is probably rare, maybe like a 10% occurrence, but maybe even less. But it's mostly about getting the order right and making sure that it's like prepared the way it's supposed to be prepared. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, let's be honest. Some places they get a lot of takeout orders. Maybe they skimp on it. It's easier to do that when you don't have to face the customer, right? But if you tip and they know, like, oh, you tipped the pickout team, like, let me at least handle this with care. Maybe not extra, but like at least what it's supposed to be, which you don't always get these days.
So, working in the restaurant industry previously, it was very interesting to see, like, DoorDash starting to become a thing. My restaurant got DoorDash, like, maybe a few years, well, maybe not years, maybe like a year into working there. And so, the strange thing is DoorDash did have pickup before, but it didn't give you an option to tip.
Interesting.
And in fact, I stopped working in the restaurant industry before it got to that point. So I don't exactly know how it works and how it's split up, but one of my memories is someone did a DoorDash pickup, and, you know, where's the incentive for us at that time? It's like, okay, we're going to get your food out, and there's, like, no benefit for us, so we're not going to put a whole lot of work in, but we're going to do it right. So I go out, and this person's in the scrubs. They're like, hey, can you put it on the other side? Yeah, sure. I put it on the passenger side, and they hand me, like, dollar bills. It was maybe like $2. Like, sure, cool. I swear to you, they were tainted with some type of substance, like red, like dried blood on the dollar bills. Literal blood money. But yeah, they were in like scrubs, and I will never forget that tip. I have never more quickly exchanged the money for some clean money. I was like, oh, that's horrible. Like, there could not be a single good liquid on dollar bills that is the correct color. You know?
Yeah, that, wow. I don't even know how to react to that. That sounds disgusting.
Yeah, but $2 is $2, you know what I'm saying?
$2 is $2. But, yeah, anyway, takeout tip, that's a pro tip, right? In my opinion. But
would you say that ties the bow on your answer, or did you want to go back and, like, go into it further? You said, you know, you came out better because of it, right?
I think I did come out better because of it. I mean, the person I am today is largely a result of who I grew up to be in my teen years. And I think had I stayed where I was and didn't move, I would have just been a lot worse off. I wouldn't have got as much life experience. I would have had totally different friends, totally different high school experience. Maybe I'd be better off. It's really hard to say. That's like one of those alternate timeline things that you can't really know. But at this moment in time in life, in 2025, I'm pretty happy with who I am. So, I wouldn't change anything about that situation myself.
Maybe a quote for you then to tie it all together. Growth cannot happen while you're comfortable. You had to be uncomfortable to have growth.
Yeah, and in my experience, I'm not somebody who really I'm not really somebody who likes being uncomfortable. I'm actually a very comfort-driven guy. I think a lot of the things I do in life and services I pay for revolve around me being comfortable. But it has been in the situations where I don't like being in that situation, where I feel myself grow more after, right? Similar to a conversation we had earlier, which we're not going to get into on air, but you kind of have to go through hard times to grow and evolve from those hard times, So...
Only rainbows after rain, dude. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can say it, but...
Dude, yeah. Shout out to that double rainbow we saw on vacation recently. That was so cool.
Shout out to Andy Grammer, the artist that I stole that lyric from.
There we go.
But either way, I had a moment where I was uncomfortable and I was forced into a growth situation as well.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this. I'm like, I could go super depressing, but I think it was going to get a little bit more into like life story. And so I decided to go with something that was only mildly depressing.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength regarding that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I had mentioned that I worked in the restaurant industry, and I was enjoying it. I was doing quite well for myself. I was only working like 20 hours a week, but I was making, probably like $23, $24 an hour after tips. So like I was doing comfortable. I was working in takeaway, so it wasn't that hard either. So it was a good gig. But along came COVID.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so what happened with COVID? I did even better because I was in takeaway, and that's all people could order. But that is where the problem lies. I went to a Halloween party with some coworkers, and I found out a few days later that I had a close contact with someone that tested positive for COVID. And, in 2020, that was scary.
Yeah.
Those were scary times. So the CDC guidance at the time was like, you shouldn't be doing anything. You shouldn't, especially I'm working around food. Like we had no idea the extent at that time. And I didn't want to get a whole bunch of people sick. And I mean, that's a huge liability for the company. So I told my boss, I was like, hey, I don't think I can come in. CDC says like 5 days. So, that's going to mess up my weekend shifts, but I'll be back into it next week. And they're like, no, you got to come in. You got to come in. You have to come in. And I'm like, I don't think I should. And so after a bit of back and forth, they're like, fine, don't come in. And so I'm like, okay, cool. They get it. They understand. Next week comes. I'm not on the schedule.
Yeah, they certainly did not understand.
They generally do not in that industry. So one weekend I'm out. I'm missing out on that pay. It's not fun, but it's manageable. 2 weekends I'm out. That's starting to get a little bit rough. They published the schedule that weekend. I'm not on it for the next weekend either. So we're at 21 days where I'm not on the schedule. So I thank them for that, because within that time frame, I start applying to new places. Of course, I'm not going to sit around and work in this. So, I just go to like Indeed. I apply, I do the roulette. I do probably like 15, 20 different applications off Indeed. Get an interview like 2 weeks later. Very cool. Before I actually get back on the schedule, I only have to work one more weekend because I put in my 2-week notice right as they schedule me at the end of the 2-week notice.
There we go.
And it felt so good because I walked into my boss and I said, weird that I wasn't on the schedule because I'm not going to be on the schedule anymore after this weekend. And man, that felt good. That was my growth moment. I was forced into an uncomfortable situation, and I did better because of it. And it's my current job now. So, I mean, something nice came out of it. I was able to grow within, my current company, and came out better because of it. I would definitely not be making as much money. So,
yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, that was definitely something I was gonna touch on as well. Is you're still currently working this job, which if the food service job hadn't screwed you over, who knows if you'd even have made this move into your company that you're with now. And I remember you texting me about when you'd first gotten that job, and you were really excited and optimistic, and I don't even know how many years ago that was. Numerous years, like 5+, I think, right?
Yeah.
And you've received numerous promotions and pay raises and things, and just a whole lot of good benefits. So it really worked out for you. So you kind of, and what's funny is that location that you did work at isn't even open anymore, right?
I think it's still open. Yeah, it's still open.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's one that closed that was in the area that's being
I think
turned
you're
into...
thinking of not that location.
Maybe. But anyway, they're worse off as a company, even if that location didn't close. I know they've closed a bunch.
But it felt so good going back in to the proprietor, who was my boss at the time, and I got to thank them. I said, "Thank you for putting me in an awful situation so I could actually grow as a human being." That was my mic drop moment. It felt so good, because what are they gonna do?
You said that?
Who cares?
Word for word?
Yo, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. So there's a little bit more to the story. So I had a boss that I liked more going into COVID. Well, she had continually lied that she had multiple exposures to COVID to hang out with her granddaughter. And so they came in the restaurant, the regional manager, and they did some digging, and they found out a way to get her fired. And so this new proprietor took over, and she not good in any way. I think she's still there, and she ran that restaurant into the ground. Some of the preps, prep cooks in the back, they all left too, and they were the bread and butter with the restaurant. So yeah, rough situation, but man, I feel a lot better because of it. And it's like seeing an ex fail.
Oh my god.
That's what it is. It's a little vindictive.
You definitely won the breakup.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, but yeah, poor management will do that, dude. I've had a similar situation actually. I was a pizza delivery driver for quite a while. You know that. A stranger listening wouldn't. But yeah, so my story basically also involves poor management. There was some guy came in as a GM. Won't name names, but he was like an out-of-towner. He got hired into this position from the outside, so it wasn't even somebody that had worked in the store that we knew. It was just a brand new guy that came in, and he was pretty bad.
That reminds me of a manager that I had actually at the restaurant. So she had been working at different locations in the area within the same restaurant chain. And so no one wanted her. So she came to our location, and she was put in charge of writing the schedule. There's just something about management brings different walks of life.
Yeah. It's interesting. As somebody who would never aspire to be a food service manager, I can't relate to them at all. But I do recognize that it's a totally different type of person who takes on those roles, But no, to continue my story, basically, it was just this guy who wasn't very good at his job. He was an older gentleman, and we butted heads a lot. He came in and tried to institute a bunch of new rules. And just, somebody comes in from the outside and tries to change everything. The existing staff is obviously not going to like that. Fast forward, funnily enough, by the time I quit this job, this manager specifically put me on the do not rehire list.
What a dirtbag.
He blacklisted me. I didn't actually do anything wrong, to be honest. But yeah, he put me on that anyway. And similar to you, once I made it known that I was going to quit, they cut my hours, right? And this is why, over the years, you've known me to be somebody who's very, not very respectful about quitting jobs, I guess we could say. And it stems from this moment. I put in my 2 weeks, right? And I needed those last 2 weeks. I was young. I needed the money. I had bills, whatever kind of bills a young man has, and they completely cut me from the schedule. I put 2 weeks in. I told my new place, new start date, I can start this day. And it was 2 weeks after I put in my 2 week notice. And for those last 2 weeks, they gave me 0 hours, dude. Like, no respect at all. Put me on the do not rehire list. I mean, for what?
Yeah.
For what?
Goes
And
with the
since
industry.
then, and since then, I'm like, okay, well, maybe not since then, because I've sort of changed my mind on things as I've matured. But for a long time after that, I would just be like, if I wanted to quit a job, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to quit it. I'm just going to either stop going, or I'm going to tell them, like, today's my last day. And, you know, as an older adult, I can kind of realize that that's kind of, you know, not good. Burning bridges unnecessarily is not good. But this was like young me, young Troy. And he felt slighted, and he was going to take that out on other people unnecessarily. You know?
Nice.
So, but yeah, that's how I relate to that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get your redemption arc. But speaking of redemption, I could not leave this loose thread hanging. I mentioned earlier that I made some gin cocktails for you on our recent trip, and that this was my redemption because a very long time ago, back before the sun even existed, I made you a tequila sunrise, and you have not let me live it down. Yeah. And I cannot blame you, but why don't you go ahead and tell it from your perspective on the tequila sunrise?
Yeah, that's a throwback. This was around the time I was talking about when I moved away and was in a different school and things. I think this was...
Nope, we were both 21 when this happened.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's right. For anyone listening, we were both 21, I've decided. For the purposes of the story, we were both 21.
You know what? This was way after those stories This was like at least 6 years after the stories I was telling.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, my first ever experience with a mixed drink was at Darren's house.
That was your first mixed drink?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if you knew that.
I had no idea.
My first ever mixed drink experience. We had another friend with us at the time. Us three, Darren was so proud of himself that he could make us these mixed drinks. He was like, come on over, like, we can make tequila sunrises. And I still don't know a lot about liquor and cocktails at this age, so imagine how much I knew at a younger age, right? Pretty much nothing. So I trusted Darren fully. He seemed experienced. So I go over there, and the plan is to just like have mixed drinks and play video games. And we do both of those things, but the tequila sunrises you made, dude, it had to be like 90% tequila, 10% orange juice. It was, the ratio was terrible. It was
that works well for some drinks, but not for tequila sunrise.
It was pretty much like drinking straight tequila. But like I said, first experience with like cocktails, mixed drinks. I didn't know any better. I was like, oh wow,
they all taste like this. This is why you're the beer guy, because I ruined you.
You ruined me.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So that's the old one. Also going along with that, you also made. Do you remember those pizzas you made from hand back then too? And like
you like those, no?
They weren't.
Oh my god,
great.
you lied to me.
I think the red sauce was a little too chunky or something like that. It's such a vague memory at this point.
I've improved.
I've improved. He's definitely improved a lot, listener. But speaking of redemption arcs, like you said, no, these you've become a much more skilled cocktail maker, and I don't have a lot of experience with gin, and admittedly, the gin we had, like you said, wasn't even like the best quality. But I will say, Tom Collins, solid drink. I would order that out by myself, like without Darren even being with me. Nobody to impress. Really good drink. The French 75 is basically that with champagne. I didn't like that as much. I think maybe because of the carbonation. I don't drink soda, so I'm not big on carbonation. I just drink flat water typically. I thought I would like that one because I do like champagne, but not as good. Tom Collins is just, it's it. And I'll give a rating on that. I would say Tom Collins, I'd give like an 8.5 out of 10. Solid drink, dude.
That is insane because we used Empress Indigo Gin, which for anyone who knows gin or is even familiar, it's air quotes top shelf gin. It's kind of gimmicky. It's blue. I mean, that's the whole shtick about it. But there's definitely gin that have better flavor profiles that I would use for a Tom Collins. So for you to give an 8.7 out of 10,
No, 8.5. Where'd you get the 7?
8.7 out of 10. That's crazy.
This dude is dripping off of the rye whiskey, dude.
Regardless, that's a really strong rating that could be made better. So that's a solid endorsement. I mean, there's a reason that Tom Collins has glassware named after it. I mean, it's one of the quintessential drinks. But yeah, I mean, when I was working in the restaurant industry, I was trained as a bartender, so I officially can do these things now. And honestly, the podcast has really helped. It's been great to explore like new drinks. But you tried a third drink that I did not make a full cocktail for you because you tried some of mine and said no. It is a gimlet.
Gimlet. What's in that again besides the gin?
Think margarita with gin. It's basically just lime juice, simple syrup, and gin.
Yeah, I didn't love that one. It felt very gin forward. Is it supposed to be gin forward?
Yeah. Which is why you would want to have like a nicer gin. And also, these drinks could be made better. We made them with some bottled lemon and lime juice for convenience, but like the actual squeezed juice definitely would push it over the top. I think that I could make a Tom Collins for you that would give you a solid 9.5, if not a 10.
I mean, hey, we have plans to play The Sims soon, so if you're down, I'm down, dude. I'll drink a solid 9.5 because I genuinely enjoyed the Tom Collins. I don't know if I like gin enough to buy myself a whole bottle just for that drink, but like I said, if I was out at say like a speakeasy ordering cocktails, I'd give the Tom Collins a try.
Where we stayed, I mean, it's not a big deal. We stayed at the Oliver in Knoxville, Tennessee. Great hotel. Would recommend it overall. They sent me a survey after, and I was like, a survey. I don't really take those, whatever. So they sent me another, like, hey, will you take the survey? And I'm like, all right, I'm going to shove this survey down your throat. So I took it, and I gave them remarkable ratings. Great hotel. They've got matchbooks with their name on it, which is very cool. Mints in the lobby.
Classy.
Very cool.
Classy.
Yeah. You start with champagne or an IPA or a white wine. They've got choices. So very cool. IPA from Troy. We'll get into that in a second. But point being is I lit them up on the speakeasy that they have in the hotel because we tried to go there at like 10 o'clock and they're like, our system's down. I don't fully blame them. I understand. I've been in the restaurant industry. I know what happens, but that was like the single reason we stayed at that location.
Yeah, and we were kind of thinking maybe a conspiracy was afoot, right? Because we didn't dress appropriately necessarily to get into the speakeasy. So maybe they saw us and they were like, nah, these guys are not dressed properly.
They don't fit the vibe.
No, but to your point, they were supposed to be open until midnight and their systems went down at 10 and they just decided to close. Why don't you just hang out and handwrite the orders and maybe see if it comes back up, right? You still got a couple hours.
Put a note on the door, dude. Anything. Come on.
Yeah, it was kind of a disappointment. But I also was feeling a little bad at that point because we had visited quite a few breweries. I'd had quite a few citrusy drinks. And if you're a Season 1 listener, you'll know citrusy drinks fail my constitution check. So, constitution saying.
I don't know the last time I've housed that many beers. We did 5 different brews in the span of maybe 2 hours. It was a lot of liquid.
Yeah, 5 different breweries, 1 or 2 drinks at each. I think at least 12 ounces. It was pretty, I wasn't feeling great by the end of it, needless to say.
And then there was the lady that was clearly on something when we were in the one brewery who got a fist bump out of me. That was an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah. We'll beat around the bush, but she was not right in the head due to substances, right?
She leans into me, I swear to you, and she says, I'm an actress. I cannot make this up she said that to me.
I'm the type to just ignore. I mean, that might be bad. Might make me look like a dick, but I'm the type to just look the other way. To your credit, you were being really nice to her, and I think
I don't
she
want to get
enjoyed
assaulted.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're gonna do. Like, you gotta be really nice to those people without being like overly so. And way like, please do not.
Yeah, they are pretty unpredictable. I actually have a funny story, kind of like that. I was riding around the streets of southern Columbus, which was not in a good area, and I was riding around with a girl that I had a crush on, and I was trying to turn right onto like a main street, and I stopped at a stop sign, and as I stop at this stop sign, a similar type of person approaches my car. I had the windows down, and they asked if they can get a ride to the gas station a few blocks away. Now me, stupid young Troy, like I thought this would impress the girl I was with if I gave them a ride. I'm pretty. She told me later, actually, she was like scared for her life, but I gave the person a ride. I was like, yeah, this is gonna make me look like such a good guy. I'm gonna give this person a
roll
ride.
For intimidation.
So I let them sit in the back seat. I had like a pocket knife with me that I like was keeping my hand on. I don't know what I was gonna do with it if anything happened, but luckily nothing happened. We just gave them a ride down to the gas station. They got out. All was cool, but definitely not a good idea. Looking back, I was definitely just stupid and just, liked a girl. And it was, this will impress her, surely.
Oh, man.
This will impress her. Yeah, she wasn't impressed. And luckily nothing happened, but I look back on that and it's just like a cringe moment in my past. I'm like, why did I...
Man, the homeless people stories, I went to a convenience store on a nearby college campus, and so I parked there, and my girlfriend went in, and she was getting something, and I'm sitting in the car, and I see this guy like slowly like slink up to the car, and I'm like, god. He's like knocking, like, roll down the window. So I'm like, okay, sure. The Midwest in me says, all right, let's see what he's got going on. And so I roll it down, and he's like, you got any money? And I'm like, no. He's like, are you sure? You look like you have money. and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but this is like the energy that the conversation's bringing. I'm like, no, really, I don't have anything. And he's like, what if I was Jesus? I swear to you, this man says, what if I was the second coming of Jesus Christ? Would you give Jesus money? And I looked him in the eyes and I said no. And he like kind of skulked away. I don't think he said anything else. But I will never forget this interaction with the homeless man who goes, what if I'm Jesus?
What if he was, though? You messed up.
Oh, man.
You messed up big time.
I messed up, man. Rapture's not going well for me.
That's bad. That's bad. Yeah, what is it? People at gas stations, man. I'll tell a short story. I took a trip down to Florida, and we actually drove there. And at one of the gas stations we stopped at in Alabama, I had the windows down. Again, me with the windows down. Not a good time in these stories, but somebody walked up to me with my window down in the driver's seat, and they dropped jewelry into my lap and were trying to sell it to me. So I think it was like sort of, that's obviously like a tactic, right? So I just like handed back to him. I'm like, no, I'm good. But the dropping it in my lap and then like leaning in my window, really aggressive, dude. I don't know if it was like intimidation, seems like that, or like pressure that like now that it's in my possession or something like that. Luckily I didn't cave, but really weird experience.
Man, they'll do that. There's whole kinds of schemes where like they'll do like a friendship bracelet, like they'll like, hey, hold your arm out, and then they'll put the friendship bracelet on your arm, and they're like, okay, cool, that'll be like $20. They'll scheme you, and that's exactly what they did to you. They're like, oh, you have it, and then they just won't take it back. They're like, oh, you have it, you need to buy it now. But
yeah,
not good. Much like you driving with the windows down, it seems like this is where the road is gonna have to end. We're at the end of our episode for today. Let's reminisce. We talked a lot about alcohol today and food.
We love alcohol. I mean, that's like two of my favorite things.
I mean, it is Sips and Eat Food Quest. Yeah, it's a working title. But, wow. That was a fully Tavern Tales episode. We kind of thought maybe we would get into a few other prompts, but fully off the rails as promised.
Unfiltered. No, yeah, it feels good. It feels really natural to just riff off of one another. Like, I did have like 3 talking points just written down, and we didn't get to any of them, which is it, but it's okay, because this I still feel like was a good episode. It was fun. It was a lot less structured. It was just us chatting, which I think is what the core of it should be.
Let us know what you think, listener. And by listener, I mean one. There's just one of you. So let us know in the comments below, or wherever you're listening to us, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, all the places. We're everywhere.
Literally anywhere. Just please comment. We need like somebody, just let us know somebody's
all
out
right.
there,
But go ahead, Troy, plug it.
Yeah, I will plug it. I do want to say, Darren, I had a dream about you recently. Not like anything weird, but
like
you were like a
bathtub
major
thought?
part of this dream. No. It was kind of in theme with this one, so I'll pick a similar theme so I can tell you about this dream next episode, season 2, episode 2.
Oh.
Make sure you subscribe to us and follow our podcast on all socials. That's going to be at Sips and Side Quest on pretty much everything. It's at Sips and Side Quest Pod on Instagram. Somebody stole our name. Anyway, you're going to be notified there. We're going to start posting stuff. We're going to post when the release lands. We're gonna have more time to promote it because we're doing bi-weekly episodes now, I think, right?
Bi-weekly Thursday mornings. Be there.
We're gonna do some real special stuff. We're changing it up. We're new to the game. If you're listening to this and you don't know us personally, let us know you're out there, right? Let us know what you like. Let us know what you dislike. Leave us a comment. And then if you do like the episode, drop a like on the video or wherever you're listening. That'll get you some easy XP. Anyway, this has been Troy.
And this has been Darren. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you right back here next time. Same time, if there's an episode. But otherwise, every Thursday, bi-weekly. Forever, until the end of time, for yet another adventure.
Every other Thursday. Not every Thursday.
Until the end of time.
Okay, bye.